Radio knows how to podcast. Roadium Radio knows how to podcast. In the city of Wilmington, we keep it rockin'. So come on, shake it for me, Kelly.
Yeah, Dr. Dre is in full effect, and I gotta tell y'all a little something. Eazy-E is down with us. MC Ring, you know he's down with us. DJ Yella is down with us. Arabian Prince, you know he's down with us. Tony A the Wizard is down with us. JJ Fag is down with us. Timmy T, you know he's down with us. DJ Pooh Boy is down with us. Toddy B and Spade, they're down with us. My boy Ice Cube, you know he's down with us. I like to mention, so pay attention to where I'm from, Compton, but the tapes are from the Roadium. My name is Dre, listen while I play. And by the way, I'm also down with NWA. Yo, Steve at the Roadium is down with us. Slanging funky tapes, it is a must. We're number one.
Tony A. Tony A. When you're ready, go.
Yo, welcome back everybody to Roadium Radio episode 27. But before we get into my interview with this legend here, got a few announcements I got to make. Once again, I'm pushing the Roadium Mixtape DOCUMIXERY, available at DOCUMIXERY.com. I will put this up against any West Coast DOCUMIXERY at the moment, based on Steve YANO, the Japanese vendor from the city of Whittier at the Roadium Swapmeet. Once again, we are on all major platforms. As a matter of fact, if you don't find us on one of them, please let us know. But as of right now, we are on all major podcast platforms. So somebody's been hitting me up and asking me, am I going to offer the CDs again? Yes. Once again, if you hit us on the super chat for $25, I will send you all 4 of these Roadium classic mixtapes. I will have eventually more different ones. I mean different ones, but right now you'll get 88 Boom and Bass, 24/7, 86 on the mix, and High C. So for $25, those of you that have been asking, it is available now throughout the show. Other than that, there was another thing that I was gonna mention. Oh yeah, for those of you that have still been inboxing me, commenting on YouTube, or DMing me on Instagram, some of you tell me I'm not that computer savvy. How do I subscribe to your YouTube? Once again, all you got to do is just press the word subscribe on YouTube. That's it. It's that simple. If it's on your phone, just hit it with your finger. If it's on your laptop, use your mouse, hit the word subscribe, and then hit the notification bell button so you can get future content, or when we go live, you will be notified first. But other than that, without further ado, let me go ahead and talk a little bit about my next guest. He is from the world-class Wreckin Cru. Those of you that have know or may not know, today you will know this man's history. I'm excited to get into it. He has a new book. He is behind the Universal Hip Hop Museum. He's got other projects that he's working on, but we'll let him talk about it. So once again, Cli-N-Tel from the world-class Wreckin Cru. Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you, brother. For coming, Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate
it. First of all, I want to say that I appreciate you being here. I've been knowing you for many, many years. But before we actually get into the interview, I wanted to ask you, did you attend the NAMM this year?
You know, I didn't get a chance to go to NAMM this year, man. I do usually try to get there and attend it because it's always, you know, first of all, the most important thing to me about NAMM is I see a lot of people that, you know, I know from back in the day, you know, the Joe Coolies and the Battle Cats and, you know, the DJ Speeds, all those guys always show up. So I missed them this year. But I was just so busy on so many different projects and, you know, got my hands, feet, and toes in so many different things right now. It's just, it was difficult for me to get there.
Now, whenever you attend the NAMM, do you ever go like the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or do you like pick one specific day to go to?
I usually go every day.
Really?
Yeah, because, you know, it's so much there, you don't get a chance to see it all in one day. So I try to, you know, pick a section, kind of hang there, then go to another section, then go to another section each day. But yeah, I try to do every day.
Yeah, I went one day this year, which was a Saturday. Fuck, I got so beat, man, because you do so much walking, and there ain't really too much places to sit down.
No.
But, let me share with the public. when I first met you, okay, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah.
It was, I want to say early 80s, if not mid 80s. I want to say maybe 84, 85. My brother was either security at the time or DJing at a club in Long Beach called Grand Central Station.
Oh, yeah. Wow, yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
on
man.
the east side of Long Beach.
Yeah.
And Joe Cooley was already DJing there, but I remember he told my brother, I'm going to bring my MC. I'm going to bring my MC. Now, this is before Rodney O.
Yeah.
You know, and there you were. You showed up, and I'll be honest with you, I was starstruck because to me, you were the world-class wrecking crew,
Right,
you know?
right, yeah.
And I was like, what the hell was he doing here?
Yeah.
And then you got on the mic, you started interacting with the crowd. And let me tell you this. I told my boy today, Cli-N-Tel to me is the first and the most realist MC I've ever seen in person, because the guy really knows how to address and engage with the crowd like a professional, man.
Yeah.
And that right there, as a youngster, as an early teenager, impressed the hell out of me.
Thanks, man. I
You know?
appreciate that.
But now, let's get into it. Where was Cli-N-Tel raised at? Like, what city were you raised in?
Well, you know, I was born in East LA.
Okay.
And the first half of, I guess, say, until I was about maybe 10, 11. Then I grew up in LA. And then from there, we moved to Compton. And I lived and grew up in Compton. So I would say, you know, LA County raised me, man.
Wow, wow. Now, when you said East LA, to me, that's like wow.
Yeah.
Because mostly everybody that I interviewed that's been in the business, they'll either say Compton or LA, but I guess you moved around.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, it's
Pueblo,
like
Pueblo Projects, man. You know the whole bit. Yeah.
Pueblo Projects. Wow.
Yeah.
And what elementary schools did you attend? Out in East LA.
Holmes Avenue, which was right, you know, next to the Pueblo Projects. Went there, and then from there, went to Western Avenue School in LA. Then 109th Street School, 75th Street School, and then eventually ended up in Compton at Vanguard, you know, junior high school. Then I dipped over to Gardena High School,
right?
Because I didn't want to go to Centennial. I lived 5 minutes away from Centennial, but man, you know, the gang situation was getting real crazy at that time. So moms was like, "Well, what you want to do?" I was like, "Well, I get up 4:30 in the morning and catch 4 buses all the way over to Gardena High School and just make it over there." And that's what I did until I was able to buy a car. You know, I raised up a little bit of money, bought me a little hoopty, and you know, maybe my junior year,
right?
And so I was able to, you know, ride my little hoopty. But before then, yeah, man, I'd get up 4:30 in the morning, man, roll out of bed, jump on those buses, man, and ride through, you know, like 4 different hoods just to get to Gardena.
That's dope. You said hoopty. Damn, I haven't heard that in a minute. And for the younger crowd that's watching this, a hoopty is either a bucket or a car.
It was a bucket. It was definitely a bucket. Yeah.
Yo, that's dope. That's dope. And now, did you play any sports growing up?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I played, you know, football, baseball, basketball, all that good stuff.
Was you ever any good at any of them?
I was pretty good. You know, I made the All-Star team a few times. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Me and my cousin, you know, Richard, shout out to Rich, man, Richard Davis. We'd always play together. And so the coaches would always put us together. So if we were playing baseball, I'd be, you know, shortstop, he's second base. If we played football, you know, I'd be, you know, maybe like the cornerback and he'd be the defensive end or the linebacker on that side. Played basketball, you know, he's the small forward, I'm the guard. So yeah, they'd always put us together, man.
That's dope. That's dope. You know, I had Arabian Prince here, and he said he played running back, if I'm correct. He played football. And I remember Lonzo, he was telling me, you know, the high schools that he went to, because I know in Compton, I mean, let's just be honest. If you were a Blood, you went to Centennial.
Yeah.
If you were a Crip, you went to Compton.
Yep.
And you chose to go to Gardena.
Because I wasn't either one. So yeah, I went to Gardena.
Plain and simple. You know, it's funny because at that time, we lived in Compton off of 152nd, then we moved to 155. Okay. I was just a youngster, but my older brothers went to Pioneer Enterprise.
Yeah.
But one of my oldest brothers, because I have 4 older and 1 younger, one of my older brothers didn't want to attend none of the high schools in Compton.
Right.
So he used to ride his 10-speed. For those that may not know what a 10-speed is, bicycle that had 10 speeds.
Yeah, you clicked 10 speeds.
Yeah. And he used to ride his 10-speed to Carson High. You know, so from Compton, Carson. And then from there, from Carson, he used to ride his bike to Zodi's because that's where he used to work.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so.
No, that reminds me of me because I would go from Gardena, and then after school, I went to work over at the Del Taco over there in Lawndale. So I know all about that. Sometimes I come home first, then get my uniform on, and then get back on the bus and ride back over to Lawndale. But yeah, that's similar stories.
What year did you graduate Gardena?
83.
83.
Yeah.
Wow. I was supposed to graduate in 86, but never made it that far, bro. Never made it that far.
Right.
I was too much into, believe it or not, DJing and women. So,
Me too, but I still graduated.
Now let me ask you this. Growing up in your home, what type of music would you say you were raised with?
Man, I mean, on the Temptations, the Jackson 5, the Shy Lights, OJs, Isaac Hayes, the Dells, shoot, man. I mean, you name it, all of that good stuff from the 60s and the 70s, Parliament Funkadelic, George Clinton, Bootsy Collins, James Brown, just stuff like that, man. It was blaring all the time, out of the speakers in the house. And my stepfather, he would listen to The Last Poets.
Okay.
All the time. And, you hear that blaring a lot from, that really, hardcore revolutionary, 60s type stuff, the Watts Prophets. Yeah. So I grew up on a lot of that kind of stuff, a really healthy dose.
Let me ask you this. You being a rapper, okay, MC, rapper, I like to refer you as an MC. When you hear the Watts Prophets, because you mentioned them, somebody brought this up to my attention and asked me, would you consider them the first rappers out here?
Well, they consider themselves that.
Okay.
Because, in talking to Brother Amdi and having conversations with him and really learning like his whole story. In fact, on their first album, I believe, they used the word rap. They used the term rap.
Oh, wow.
So they considered themselves as rappers, and they're royalty out here, so I can't argue with that.
Right. I saw an interview years ago with Isaac Hayes, and they asked him what he thought about rap.
Yeah.
And of course he said, well, back in the days, man, rap was just talking.
Right.
I'm gonna go rap to this cat over here, and I thought that was kind of hilarious. But now, growing up, you play any instruments?
Oh yeah. I played the drums. In fact, when I was younger in the Pueblo projects, every weekend these cats used to gather around in dashikis and all that kind of stuff, and they would jam. There was a parking lot. It's like a dirt parking lot by this bodega. And they'd get out there, bring their bongos and bring their timbales and all this kind of stuff. And they'd just be out there jamming that Afro-Latin music. And, as a kid, I was fascinated by that. So I was drawn to it. And, they'd always see me hanging around, standing around, looking, bobbing my head. And one time, hey, come on over here, young blood. Here, get on this, get on these congas right here. Here, play that right there. No, you got to cup your hands. So I started, just playing, the rhythms and stuff like that and getting into the congas and bells and all of that. And then eventually I picked up like a clarinet one day. My cousin had a clarinet in the house. I said, what you doing with that? I ain't doing nothing with it. I just picked it up, man, and taught myself how to play it. One of my aunts, she taught me how to play the piano. We'd go over there, after church and stuff like that. And she'd, boy, come on over here and sit down and play that song, and she'd make me play the songs and stuff. So, that's how I learned really how to, get into the music and play instruments.
Now, let me ask you this, because, to me, you're a pioneer, and you were there when hip hop began. A lot of that stuff trickled over from the East Coast.
Yeah.
Okay. Who would you say possibly was the first rapper that you heard that that caught your ear and you said, what is that?
Well, I'll tell you the story. We were on the school grounds. We were actually on the soccer field. We were playing soccer outside one day. And LA, we were always into the cars that got the boom in the trunks and in the systems and the big speakers. And we were out there playing, we kicking the ball around, running around, and all of a sudden we heard this boom, 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 boom. And we just froze. Everybody. We was like, what is that? Where's that coming from? The car bust a right turn, and then it went on down the street. And we just froze, man, just hypnotized. I was like, what is that sound? Where is that coming from?
Yeah.
And so we started talking about it, and then we learned, through the friends, oh man, that's Rapper's Delight. That's that song by the Sugar Hill Gang. Then we started hearing it on the radio. I'm like, I got to go buy that song. So I went and bought it. and played it, man. I was hooked on hip hop ever since then. I wanted to be an MC so bad after that, man.
From that point on.
Yeah, that was it. I was done. I'm in.
About how old do you think you were when you heard this?
About 13, 14, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I formed my own rap group after that. It's some corny name called the Three Rappeteers or something like that. It was me, my cousin Rich, and my best friend Midnight, may he rest. But yeah, we had a group. But the cool part about it was Midnight he went to Catholic school. You know, his mother had him in these formal like dance classes, so he took ballet and tap and all this kind of stuff. And so he was our secret weapon. So we'd get out there and, you know, we'd rap and, you know, do our little, you know, routines and stuff like that, you know, to kind of double trouble, trading off back and forth, the harmony raps. And then all of a sudden, towards the end, Rich might do a little, you know, something with his mouth, beatboxing, and then Midnight would just break out and start tap dancing. I mean, when I say tap, I mean, I'm talking Savion Glover, you know, level, you know, kind of tap, man. And he was so good at it. So the crowd just went crazy. He was always our secret weapon. So winning contest was no problem for us, hands down, because we always brought something different.
So he would tap dance.
Yeah, I was the mastermind. Rich was sort of like the muscle, and you know, Midnight was our secret weapon. He was a tap dancer in the group.
Wow. And at that time, were you writing your own lyrics?
Oh yeah.
Was everybody writing their own lyrics? Type of deal?
I was mostly writing theirs too. You know, that was my forte. And what really made us keep going, or me anyway, keep going, is we were at a contest one day, and we performed. And this cat came up to us, and he said, "Hey, you know, you guys are really good. You got something there. You gotta keep on going. You know, here's my number. You know, take it down. You ever need any advice? You ever want to talk about this? You want to take it to the next level? Just give me a call." That was Disco Daddy.
Disco Daddy.
Yeah, and you know, I would call him, get advice from him, and everything. And to this day, you know, we still cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Disco Daddy.
Yeah.
Wow. I remember because my brother Mario brought that record home, and I know it was on a silver label.
Yeah.
And I think he was rapping to a Rick James song, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's right. It was the Gigolo rap. Yeah.
The Gigolo rap.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Him and Captain Rap. Yeah.
Wow, you just brought back so many damn memories right there, bro. Because you know, again, Mexican kid growing up in Wilmington, my brother brings home these records, and I'm hooked.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hooked on it. Like you can't get enough of that type of music.
Well, see, at that time too, you know, disco was who we had known as the only like guy that had a record out. And to us, somebody like that coming up to us, he was a celebrity saying,
Yes.
you know, you guys are talented, keep going. We like, okay, we must be on to something here. And that inspired me, man, to just, you know, put the foot on the gas and keep it pushing.
So those of you that have heard that, YouTube Gigolo Rap, Disco Daddy,
Yeah.
you'll be blessed. So did writing lyrics come easy to you?
Well, I used to write anyway.
Okay.
Like I would write poems, poetry, tried my hand at writing like little screenplays, and I would drive my, you know, parents crazy or my siblings crazy because I would write like little skits out. Here, come on over here, let's do this, let's perform this little skit. Yeah, that's your part, that's your part, that's your part. And you know, so I was always, you know, into writing. I just loved writing, you know, anyway, because believe it or not, when I was younger, I was pretty introverted, you know, as a kid. But so that was the way that I could express, you know, myself and just kind of like get my thoughts out there to people.
Wow, that's amazing. First of all, I want to say I'm having a good ass time talking to you because I really, really love talking about the beginning of how it all started for us here, especially in the West Coast, and you being a huge part of it. You know, I remember a while back. Quick story. There was a couple of guys from Carson. They were going to band in high school, and I was in high school, and these guys were Knights of the Turntables. Yeah. Okay. And I remember I saw them with the white jackets, and they had Knights of the Turntables in their back. Yep. There was one guy named Gerard, and I walked up to him, and I didn't know, but I knew they had a record out, a vinyl record out. And to me, they were celebrities to me. Yeah. You know, because I was DJing and I loved music, you know. So I went up to him and I just said, "Hey man, can I ask you guys a question?" And I was real nervous, you know. And they were like, "Yeah." And I said, "How did you guys make it so big?" I didn't know that they weren't making any kind of money, but to me, you got your jackets, you got a record out. To me, you're big, and I wasn't talking about this. you know.
And shout out to them too, man, because, you know, I used to give them a hard time back in the day. I don't know if they tell you that, but I used to call them the Knights of the Round Table Pizza, because back then, you know, we had this, you know, pizza place called Round Table Pizza, and they'd be like, oh, come on, CliNTel, man, stop doing that. But I had mad love and respect for them, because they were very talented, and, you know, they were, you know, from our area, and they were, like you said, they were organized. They were doing something with it, and I respected that, you know. But yeah, I used to rib on them all the time. You know, they'd see me coming.
And it's funny because when he almost looked startled that I would think that they were big, and all he said was like, "Well, do you DJ?" And I said, "Yeah, you know, I DJ." And he was like, "Okay, you ever heard of Radiotron?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Go to Radiotron." I didn't know what to expect when I went to Radiotron, but I remember walking in, and then I heard the song "The Show" by Dougie Fresh, Slick Rick, and then I looked up and I saw a Latino guy up there DJing. That was Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah, that's my boy.
That was the first time I heard and I had got the freaking goosebumps, because that was the first time I was ever like in that type of an environment, you know.
Wow, it's so electric, and you know, it's funny because being alive at that time and being in hip hop at that time, it was so organic, and it was a movement, and you didn't really have to even talk about it a lot. You just felt it, you know.
Yes.
And you know, when you would go to different places, because I made it a point to try and sneak in all kinds of different places. I love to battle rap. I love to get into ciphers, and I love to just, like, you know, bounce off other people, vibe off other people, and hear other people and what they were into. So I'd sneak in the Radiotron, I'd sneak in the Grand Central Station, I'd sneak in Marshall's Ballroom, or just go there and just not let anybody even know who I was, just be Mr. Incognito and just kick back and listen and, you know, see the little, but you don't, it's not the same kind of thing nowadays. Back then it was so fresh and so new. And even though, you know, we had our East Coast influences, we were still creating something unique and sort of customized to our own West Coast style. And that's why I think we blossomed, you know, when we did, just kind of blew up in the 90s with all the G-Funk and all that kind of stuff, is because it was already brewing under the surface for us. It was destined for the West Coast to come up.
I remember I used to go, and I was just like you, Incognito. I was one of those guys, well, actually one of those kids that was holding up the wall, and I was just happy just to be there, man. To see people. I never danced, you know, but I just wanted to see and to soak it all in. I remember I would come home and I would put on my headphones and bump one of the songs on a cassette that I just heard, like The Show, and I'd be sitting there in my bed with my eyes wide open, just one day type of mentality. One day.
Because it's funny, because when I would see people like Dougie or Run DMC or Curtis Blow or Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, Bambaataa and those cats, this is in their early stages. So they weren't these big names like they are now. So you were able to really literally stand 5 feet away and touch them. You know, KDAY would bring them down. Will Smith. I mean, man, there's so many artists that are so huge now that started out with just literally nothing. You know, it's amazing, like being at World on Wheels and being at Skateland, or being at Eve After Dark, or being at the Uncle Jam's Army, you know, parties, or being at Olympic Auditorium. And I remember one time, you know, you're probably gonna hate me for telling this story, but I'm gonna tell it anyway. I was backstage with Cut Creator and LL Cool J, and we were at the, I believe it was the Olympic Auditorium. Greg Mack had brought, you know, LL out here. He had a few songs out. He was kind of, you know, on the rise, kind of blowing up. And so we backstage, man, we kicking it and everything. He's about to go on in maybe like 10, 15 minutes. All of a sudden, he breaks out into this cold sweat, and he starts like breathing hard and just, you know, pacing back and forth. This is LL Cool J, big dude, you know, he about 6'2", 6'3", you know, he's pacing back and forth. He's pulling on his collar and he's doing all these different things. And I'm looking at Cut Creator, and he's like, well, whatever, you know, like, I've seen this before and nothing new. So I'm kind of, you know, freaking out a little bit, like, dang, what? I'm like, you all right, man? You cool? Everything cool? Oh, man, I don't know, man. Oh, man, had they heard my songs yet, man? What songs? Had they heard I Need Love? Yeah, man. Have they heard I Need a Beat? Yeah, man, they heard it all, man. You're going to be all right, man. Just get on out there, you know, you're going to be cool. And so he finally, you know, I don't know. So he finally calmed down a little bit. Greg Mack calls him out on stage. Man, as soon as that dude got on stage, Melky, and I'm back. I'm like, that wasn't the same person. That was just, but that was the first time I had ever seen somebody have a panic attack. But he pushed through all of that,
Yeah.
and was able to get out there on stage. And again, if you had never seen that, you would have never known. Girls screaming, people screaming in the crowd, all that kind of stuff for him. So I guess that's just his thing.
Yeah.
And I talked to some other people, and they said, yeah, I've seen him do that before. I'm like, wow.
You know, I will say this. I've seen, not a lot, but I've seen several LL Cool J shows. And I will say this, and I saw him perform live just recently on TV for that Dick Clark show, the Countdown. Okay. I've never seen a whack LL show.
Never.
I've never seen one. Of course, I could say things about certain rappers, but I've never seen one on LL. And I'm glad you shared that story because to me, that's one of the greats as well.
Oh, yeah.
Was there ever any rapper that stood out to you the most that you said, man, I like his ass? Like, he's freaking dope, you know, from back in the days, whether it be Melly Mel or whether it be Kumo D or whatever.
Well, you know, in my top 5, of course, Melly Mel has to be in there, and I have mad love and respect, you know, for Melly Mel, both personally and professionally.
Yes.
And Kumo D, I've been compared to Kumo, you know, because of the vernacular and the way that I speak, and we're both college educated and stuff like that. He's definitely another one, but I would say from a pure standpoint, Rakim.
Rakim.
Yeah, Rakim is probably one of the best for me, you know, in terms of that.
It's funny because people have always asked me whenever I've done like interviews, like, who are you, like top 2, 3? And here's what I say. I will say, and to me, they're not in order, but I will say these two, I always go back and forth. It's either Rakim or KRS-One. And I always say it doesn't get any more hip hop than that.
Yeah.
Those are like my two, if you will, rap idols. And then I have to put LL right.
You know, I'm going to say it like this too. Rakim, because of his lyrical flow, his choices, and just the way that he just catches that beat and rides it. He's got that lazy style, but at the same time, it's still on beat. It's still a cool, jazzy flow. KRS-One is probably one of the best, you know, impromptu freestyle MCs, you know, that I've seen, you know, do it. I mean, there's a few others out there that can really, you know, do that, but he's probably one of the top that definitely I've seen, you know. I was supposed to perform with him in Monterey, man. I was so bummed because I was supposed to get on stage. We're going to do this thing. And the promoters, I guess they didn't check the equipment right. And the stuff caught on fire. And everybody had to vacate the theater, but yeah, I missed that, man. So if I ever get a chance again, man, I'm gonna definitely perform, you know, with KRS-One.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot really quick. A rapper's question: Rakim or Nas?
Wow, because they're kind of from two different sort of time periods. But if I were to flip a coin, I would want it to land on Rakim.
Okay,
you know.
Fair enough. Now, I'm glad you said that, brother, because I love me some Rakim. Yeah. Other than that, as far as you know, you said Rakim, KRS. Around when did you start? How would you say? What was the? As far as the world-class Wreckin Cru, around how old were you when that happened, if you will?
I was about 16, 17.
Okay.
Because, you know, at that time, Eve After Dark let you in. If you could be 14, 15, 16, on up to 18 years old, party all night.
Right.
So that was the only spot we kind of had in that neighborhood where it was relatively safe. You could party all night. And, you know, they had some pretty cool acts coming through there.
Right.
And so we would go there, me and Joe Cooley, our little, you know, DJ crew that we had called the Invasion Force.
The Invasion Force.
Yeah, and our production company was Diamond Star Productions. We had these little, you know, cards made up, all 4 names on it, and people were like, well, which one phone numbers too, which one do I call? So I started getting smart. I'm circling my name here, call that one that's circled.
Right.
But, you know, we had a little crew, me, New York Nick, Carlos, and Joe.
Let me stop you right there.
Sure.
And I hate to do that, but I need to ask because not only is Joe, I consider him a good friend, but I'm also a fan of Joe Cooley because I consider Joe, and me and my friend were talking about this. We called him the Michael Jordan of DJing at that time.
Yeah. Because
you wouldn't want to go one-on-one with the guy.
No.
You wouldn't. And I'm going to say it again, the Michael Jordan of DJing. Now, before we go to break, let me ask you a question. How did you come to meet Joe?
We grew up together. We grew up in Ujima Village. together. He lived on the Clovis side. I lived on the Wadsworth side. And sometimes the Clovis gang would get together with the Wadsworth gang. We'd play football or basketball. It'd be healthy, friendly competition. Sometimes we got into fights, but it was all good. So Joe lived on Clovis side, and I lived on Wadsworth, and we just struck up a friendship. And then when we got into music, we just started doing music together, started DJing together and stuff like that. He was a cool person. I usually gravitate more towards like laid back kind of people. Yeah. And Joe was that kind of person. He was kind of laid back. And so we just became friends, and shoot, man, the rest is history from there.
And you guys formed that group. Okay.
Yeah, formed a little crew and got our little equipment together, hustled up some money, and we just started putting it out there.
Okay, we're gonna come back and pick up at the Eve After Dark on how you came to meet, if you will, or how the beginning of the World Class Wrecking Crew came together. We'll pick it up after this break.
Cool.
Once again, Roadium Radio episode 27. Call somebody, text somebody, slap the hell out of somebody. Let them know that CliNTel is in the building, okay? Yeah. Once again, you hit me on the super chat for $25. I'll send you all 4 this week. They're going out actually all tomorrow. Okay, so once again, call somebody, let them know that CliNTel of the World Class Wrecking Crew is in the building. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Go grab a beer. We'll see you in a minute.
Cool.
Just do 1 2 1 2. Right about now, Eazy-E and Dr. Dre's in the motherfucking house.
Times are getting crazy. It's really hard to choose it. The Roadium's a spot to get funky, fresh music. Easy motherfucking E and my homeboy Dr. Dre. MC Ren is in effect, and we don't play. The Roadium is hitting, but you can't leave until you get a deaf ass tape from Steve. Oh Steve, oh Steve, oh Steve, just give me just one more tape. Oh Steve, oh Steve, oh Steve, just give me just one more tape. Oh Steve, oh Steve, oh Steve, just give me just one more tape. Oh Steve, oh Steve, oh Steve, just give me just one more tape. Yeah, man, I came all the way down to the Roadium Swapmeet, man, to pick up one of the NWA tapes, man. And I talked to homeboy Steve down there, man, and he said I'm fresh out of tapes, man. How the fuck you fresh out of tapes, man? He said cause they selling like hotcakes and shit, man.
Got my man going down.
Hey, mom, what's for dinner?
The do is Mr. Little One chilling on Roadium Radio with the one and only Tony A and John motherfucking Elkins, boy.
Hey, what up? It's your boy Mr. Shadow from San Diego Killer Cow. Chilling out with my homeboy Tony A the Wizard on Roadium Radio. You already know.
What's up, everybody? It's your homegirl Magic Girl, and you are now listening to Roadium Radio with Tony A the Wizard.
Check it out. This is MC Poncho on the MIC. Shout out to Tony A the Wizard, Roadium Radio. You already know.
Yeah, what up? This is Mr. Night Owl, and you're listening to Roadium Radio with the legendary Tony A the motherfucking Wizard.
Yo, what's cracking? Nosotros somos Aqua y estamos aquí con Tony A the Wizard. You know Roadium Radio, damn it. You know what it is.
Big G, Roadium Radio, Tony A in full effect. Stay tuned, watch, listen. That's how we doing it over here.
What up, what up? It's Mr. Soto. You guys are now in tune to Roadium Radio right here on Tony Vision on YouTube. Yep.
Yo, what up? This is Mellow Man Ace and Pavino, and you tuned in to Roadium Radio with my man Tony A. Keep it locked.
What's up? This is Esther Dazzle, Spanish Fly, Harbor Area's finest. Tune in to Tony A on Roadium Radio.
Yo, what's up? This is Bozo, aka Emiliano. You tune into Roadium Radio on Tony Vision's YouTube channel. Let's get it.
Yo, what's cracking? It's your boy OG Arabian Prince from the world's most dangerous group, NWA. Sitting here with my boy Tony A the Wizard on Roadium Radio.
What up, this is DJ Trick, Spanish Fly, and you're watching Tony A on the Roadium Radio Show.
Yo, what up? I'm out here. It's Big Daddy Swoles. I'm dealing with my man, Tony A the Wizard, out here on Roadium Radio. The podcast is off the hook. Check us out.
Yo, this is Daniel Jones, the D to the motherfucking G Media Clips. Here with your boy, Tony A the Wizard on the Roadium Radio Show.
Yo, what's up? This is John motherfucking Elkins, and you're tuning into Roadium Radio with my homeboy DJ Tony A the Wizard.
Tear shit up. AOD, you got a level? D, hit record, man.
Get busy with Easy and Tony A on the 12 technique. See?
Here's a little something about a nigga like me. They never should have anybody say proceed.
Yo, this is your main man name.
You don't like Tony A or
I'm rocking shit out of the Roadium. Let's do 1, 2, 1, 2. Right about now, you
drop that bass.
Hey, Tony.
Drop that
What?
bass.
I bet.
My name is the Croft, the C-R-A-W-F-O-R-D, the poet high C. Tony A the Wizard, just as cool as a blizzard, sticking out his tongue, stabbing pussy like a lizard. Ooh, so sorry, homie, I didn't mean to say that. Steve is in the house, come on, won't you play that funky dope beat? You know you gotta throw me some Stanley's ass Croft, coming straight from the Roadium.
You are now about to witness
Tony A.
Tell her where you from.
You don't think how I'm living, well, fuck you. Moon on a Saturday night in LA. Yo, feeling kinda fancy. Stop what you're doing, cause I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you used to. What the hell are you looking for? Can a young man make money anymore? Wear my jewels and like freaking on the floor? Or is it my job to make sure I'm poor? Disruption's is horrible, nourish not justified. Those that live at the FBI, look at mama's baby.
Yo, right about now, Dr. Dre is in effect. Cold tearing shit up with my man Steve at the Roadium Swapmeet. And we here to lay it on the line. To all them sucker niggas out there claiming our tapes and shit, we just got one thing to say.
Live at your point, your ass is mine. Live at your point, your ass is mine. Live at your point, your ass is mine. Yeah! Now my name is Dr. Dre. 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 Went to a party in West LA. Wanna learn a new dance, that's what you say. What is a new dance that can't be matched? So just dance to the flow, do the cat.
Here it come, here it come, here it kitty come, come. Here it come, here it come, here it kitty come, come.
Yeah, all right, cool. All right, make sure you send me some booty pics, okay? All right. Oh shit, we're back on. I gotta go later. All right, everybody, welcome to Roadium Radio episode 27. I was just talking to nobody. But anyways, I hope you call somebody, you text somebody, slap the hell out of somebody, let them know that CliNTel is in the building. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and pick up right where we left off because we have so much rich history that we have to cover. Somebody asked to explain what does your hat mean?
Oh, this is just actually a basketball team.
Okay.
A celebrity basketball game that I was in. That we played in the Aces was one of the sides.
Okay.
That I played for. So yes, it's nothing but a celebrity basketball game that I was in. Yeah.
Okay. Now, earlier we were talking about during the break. Actually, we were talking about you being a DJ as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when did you start that, or when did you pick that up?
Well, I started out in a group called the Invasion Force.
Okay.
That was me, DJ Joe Cooley, and Rodney and Joe Cooley fame, New York Nick, and the goofball of the team his name is Carlos.
Okay.
Later on, Crazy Tunes joined the group, and then also DJ Aladdin, M-Walk, we'd see him around sometimes. He'd mix it up with us, and DJ Speed. But for the most part, it was the four of us, me, Nick, Joe, and Carlos, and we formed a little crew. I actually met Joe because we grew up in Ujima Village together, and he lived on the Clovis side, and I lived on the Wadsworth side. Anybody that's from the village or grew up in the village, they know what I'm talking about. One street was Wadsworth, the other street was Clovis, and every now and then we'd meet in the middle called the Big Field. It was this big patch of grass. Well, sometimes it was grass, most times it was dirt. And we'd play football or baseball or just, maybe go and play some basketball against each other. It was like friendly competitions.
Right.
And so me and Joe, we just struck up a friendship because, he's pretty laid back type dude. I'm pretty laid back. So, we struck up a friendship and became friends. And when the whole DJing thing started to blow up and Uncle Jam's Army started to blow up, we were like, well, let's put our own crew together. So we did that. We'd go to, dances and parties and try to figure out, well, what are they doing? How's the scratching happening? What are they making this sound from?
Right.
And what kind of equipment are they using? We go watch DJ Yellow of Eddie Eve After Dark. We go to Uncle Jam's Army and watch Egypt do his thing. We go different places. So finally we put some money together and got our equipment and got some business cards and, put on there Diamond Star Productions, Invasion Force. We had like 4 different names, 4 different numbers on there. So people be like, well, who do I call? So I got slick. I started circling my name and
right.
just call that number right there.
Right.
So I started handling all the business. But, that's how it happened, man. And that's how I became a DJ and started getting into it.
Did DJing come easy to you?
I would say it was intuitive, but at the same time, I still had to work at it.
Right.
When I could get the time to work at it because it was 4 of us, we would share the equipment, and we agreed that maybe one weekend one person would have the equipment over their house, and next week somebody else, but we could still practice at each other's houses. So I'd go over Joe's house sometimes when he had the equipment. I'd be over there maybe like 7:30 in the morning, and I come in there and he's in there mixing, trying to do his thing, perfect his little scratches. And so I'm sitting there waiting 2 hours, 2.5, 3 hours, like, man, is he gonna finish? He gonna give me a chance to mix? So I'm like, man, I gotta go somewhere. I'll be back. I'm gonna get something to eat. I come back 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours later. He's still trying to perfect that same scratch, right? But he had that work ethic that was so dope that it rubbed off on all of us. And when I didn't get a chance to mix, I just said, well, I'm just going on and practice my rhymes, get my rhyme skills together. And while he was doing his thing over there, I was coming up with routines in my head that we could do together. So when we went out and did parties and dances or whatever we did,
just rock shit.
Yeah, we just made it happen, man. And we just, traded off on each other and hit it off really well like that. Didn't even have to do a whole lot of talking. We just had that kind of connection.
That's dope. One thing I will say about Joe is that when I first saw Joe, tear it up, it was the year, and I don't remember the year, but it was the year that Let's Work came out by Prince.
Oh, yeah.
Especially because I'm a big Prince guy, okay? I love Prince. And I remember when he asked me for 2. Right. I'll be honest with you, it was the first time I ever seen a DJ ask for 2.
Yeah.
They'd always have one, mix another song into it,
right.
Put in, and I go, what you going to do with it? And he said, well, I'm going to mix it. But that was the year that I met him. It was when Let's Work came out. Prince just came out with that Controversy album.
Mm-hmm.
And we had 2 promotional copies, Let's Work, 12 inches.
Joe. So let me tell you a little secret about Joe, what a lot of people don't know, is Joe was a musician, right? His father grew up playing the guitar.
Wow.
So Joe would incorporate a lot of that rhythmic styling into his turntable. So he literally turned the turntable into an instrument. And we would actually, it was funny because me and him would sit around and talk like, man, what if it was a way you can like, you know, when you write music, you can write a scratch, you know, you could like, what would be a symbol for scratching? And it was just weird how we were thinking like that, even, you know, back then in high school.
Well, the guy's amazing, bro. The guy's amazing, you know. And it's funny. I've always thought guys that scratch left-handed always made it seem like if they were playing like a guitar, like an instrument.
That's him.
That's him.
And that's how I had to learn how to scratch. I'm right-handed, but I had to learn left-handed because he was left-handed. So I ended up, you know, being pretty good on both hands.
Wow. So now you guys land at Eve After Dark. If I'm correct, I think there was either like an MC contest going on.
Yeah. Well, what happened was the week before, you know, Lonzo said, yeah, you know, next week we're going to have this contest and, you know, bring your best rhymes and, you know, you're a good MC. You know, Lonzo talk, you know, he talks it up. So me and a friend of mine named McKinley, who would be a part of our crew sometimes, he'd help us move equipment, or, you know, me and him would rap together. We said, man, let's put together a little routine. You know, we're going to come back next week. We'll win this contest with like $100 or something like that. So we did that, worked on a routine all that week. Had it going on, you know, it was like a harmony type rhyme thing, like double trouble, you know, funky 4+1 kind of situation. And so we had it down to perfection. So he called me that day and said, man, I can't make it. I'm like, why not? What happened, man? We worked on this routine all week. What you talking about, man?
Right.
So I was pissed. So he's like, man, I'm just tied up. You know, I can't make it. I'm sorry, man. Just do one of those routines you do with Joe, man. Go and do that. You know, you'll rock it. So I was like, all right, man, whatever. So I went up there. And what I noticed was that the other MCs were not engaging the crowd. I mean, they were talking about themselves. You know, I got the cars, I got the clothes, I got the Gucci, I got the fur, all that kind of stuff. Cool, whatever. You know, they were talking about how they were ladies men and players and all that. Oh, that's great, wonderful. But what I noticed was they were not engaging the crowd. I'm like, that's not hip hop. You got to get the crowd involved. It's for the people.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did, man, I went up there and started doing the whole call and response thing. Everybody say this and that, you know, all that kind of stuff just going off. And to see that group of 14, 15, 16-year-olds screaming like that, you know, it was amazing to see that and hear that. It did help, too, that I had the deck stacked a little bit because some of the homies from, you know, Ujima Village were there, too. And, so, you know, that was cool. But for the most part, you know, I had my own routine, you know, down. I had my own thing, you know, in terms of engaging the crowd because that was important to me. Because that's how I gauged, like, how well I was doing and not, like, how well the crowd was interacting. So ended up winning the contest, and you know, Lonzo announced me as the winner. Yeah, it's great. You know, I'm like, oh, that's cool. All right, but where's my money? Shit, where's my $100 at? Yeah. So he said, man, let me talk to you. So he pulled me to the side and he said, listen, I'm working on this thing right now. I got this idea I'm working on, and I want you to come by, you know, this week, and let's talk about it some more. I'm like, all right, that's great. Well, he ain't paying me my money, so yeah, I'm definitely gonna come.
Yeah.
And the day that I came, I noticed that it was a cat that was up there practicing on the turntables who I went to junior high school with. And I was like, wait a minute, I know that dude from somewhere. So I went and talked to Lonzo, and, you know, we talked about, you know, me getting into the Wreckin Cru. And he was like, yeah, man, I've been looking for somebody like you, an MC. I'm thinking about making some records now and all that. You ever made a record before? No, I ain't never made a record before. Yeah, man. So I was excited about that, but I'm still like, yeah, but he ain't paid me my money yet.
Right.
So he finally paid me my money. And as I was walking out, I said, oh, that's Dre. So I'm like, well, it might be something cool, because if he's in it, then it might be something cool. And I went back and I talked to Joe and Carlos and the other guys and said, look, man, this might be something cool for all of us. You know, I'll check it out. I'll keep one foot in the air and one foot in there, and I'll see what happens, you know. And I kept my promise. I would bring Joe up, because at that time, Lonzo didn't know I was a DJ too. But when he found that I was a DJ, he said, oh, that's cool. Well, you take the first set or the second set on the night, and, you know, and Dre will do a set, and Yella will do a set, and like that, or Unknown will do a set. So what I would do is, when Joe would come up there, I'd sneak him in there on my sets, on the turntables. Right. And Dre and him be like looking at me like, man, what you doing? You're getting pissed at me. Right. No, it's cool. He good. He cool. But, yeah, that's how, you know, I joined the Wreckin Cru. We went into the studio. A few weeks later, cut the first record, Slice. You know, it went wood. You know, but what we did was we learned about the music industry, right? We learned about, you know, being in the studio, mixing a record down, then taking it and pressing it up, and then marketing it and putting it in the stores and, you know, promoting it. We learned all that stuff on the fly. Nobody was telling us. People were trying to hold the information away from us and keep us from, you know, knowing what was going on. But we got slick. And we just started asking questions, and we started kind of probing people. And Lonzo started going out and asking, well, what is this all about? So we got fortunate enough to connect with Greg Mack, because at that time, Uncle Jam's Army was the crew that was on the radio doing Saturday night mixes. And I guess Greg and Roger had a falling out.
Greg and Roger Clayton.
Yeah, Roger Clayton from Uncle Jam's Army, Mr. Prince, all that good stuff. And so KDAY was looking for a new DJ crew to sort of do their Saturday night mixes and sometimes do the remotes and that kind of thing. And so Lonzo was going up to KDAY to sell advertisement for the club.
Okay.
And him and Greg struck a conversation about, yeah, man, I need a DJ crew. You know anywhere I can find one from? This is Greg asking Lonzo this. And Lonzo starts smiling like, hell yeah, I know where you can find one. You're talking to him, you know?
Yeah.
And so he came back to us and like, yo, we're going to be doing, you know, mixes on KDAY, you know, on the radio. I'm like, all right, whatever, you know, ain't no different than what we're doing now. So we developed this 4-track sort of mixing style. We didn't develop it, we probably learned it from somewhere. So we bought a 4-track recorder, and we would lay down sort of like a basic track, you know, from instrumentals.
Like a bottom beat.
Exactly. And then we'd come back and mix other stuff on top of it. And then when we started doing, because Greg came back and says, man, you guys are doing so good with these Saturday night mixes. I want to do something called the traffic jam mix from 5 to 5:30 every day, you know, to kind of give people something different to drive to during traffic. So we like, fuck it, we're going to get creative.
Right.
And we started throwing in skits. I started doing like, you know, voices and different characters, Ronald Reagan, all this kind of stuff. And we would keep it entertaining, and we would keep it different. And with Dre and Yella on the mix, and sometimes me on the mix too. I don't get credit for doing the mixes in the traffic jam. I did some of those too. I was one of the mix masters too. But long story short of it, man, is that's how we were able to sort of kind of take control of the narrative in hip hop, because this radio was powerful at that time.
Yeah.
And KDAY was bouncing its signal all the way from here up to Oakland. So we didn't even know people in Oakland, you know, would hear it, because, you know, FM is like a straight shot in terms of the science of radio, right? You have to have a line of sight to get an FM signal, but AM bounces on the ground. And so it would hit at certain points all up and down the California coastline.
Right.
And people would tell us, man, we heard y'all in, you know, Fresno. Man, we heard y'all in Oakland. How the hell are you hearing us all the way up there? Well, because that signal was bouncing.
Right.
And if you were in the right spot, you could catch it. So Wreckin Cru was blowing up as a DJ crew. And we were like, yo, it's time for us to start making some more records now. So then we went back in and we did Surgery, because the idea was every time Uncle Jam's Army made a song, we wanted to make a song. And we wanted to just kind of one-up them. So it was that friendly competition.
Right.
And then eventually, you know, LA Dream Team, they jumped in. They were kind of riding and rocking with Uncle Jam's Army. Then Ice-T, he jumped in. And New York City Spin Masters with Evil E and G, they jumped in it. So it just kind of became this thing. And the next thing you know, somebody got smart. The promoters got smart. Say, hey, wait a minute. All these crews are blowing up individually. Why don't I just put them all together on a tour? Right. And that was one of the smartest things that a promoter could do, because we went all up and down with us, Arabian, Russ Parr, Uncle Jam's Army, you know, Hen G, Evil E, Ice-T, just going up and down touring and really fattening up the whole West Coast scene. Like
wow. Do you remember the name of that tour?
Like, I do not. Give it a name? I don't think it had a name. Okay. But I do know a couple of times we got into some trouble in a few places because, you know, some of the cats couldn't keep it in their pants right. And yeah, there was one town where the sheriffs were after us, and we had to hurry up and pack it up and get on up out of there. Oh yeah.
Now, okay, just for the public, for those of you that have just joined us, we're talking about Dr. Dre, DJ Yella, because I know we know them. You know them obviously a lot better than I do, but because a lot of times we say Dre, but this is Dr. Dre, this is DJ Yella, and when you say Greg Mack, a lot of times people confuse it with Craig Mack, but this is Greg Mack from KDAY. Craig Mack, rest in peace.
Yeah.
But now this radio station, to make it clear to this new generation, this was AM radio. It wasn't FM.
Nope.
It was AM radio. And I always said that if you couldn't get a good signal, you weren't listening to hip hop.
That's right.
You know, period. So now you guys go back in and do Surgery. Now, were you the lead vocalist or?
I did all the vocals.
Okay.
All the lyrical writing for it and some of the music. Drake did the beat.
Okay.
And that was it. It was just me and Dre.
Okay. Now I have a question for you. Okay. Why in the video? Why do they have somebody else?
Right.
Shakespeare. Can you explain that to us?
Sure. So we're jumping ahead a little, but I will say this. Shakespeare was actually in the group at the same time as me.
Okay.
And Shakespeare was our backup dancer. He came through when Ice Cube and Jinx and those guys, because Shakespeare is Dre's cousin.
Okay.
So, and Jinx is also Dre's cousin.
Right.
So when Shakespeare was there, I think he had just come out of the army or something like that. Hell of a dancer. You know, he could, he had, moves and spins and all that kind of stuff. So we needed that kind of thing on the road because we were really truly touring with R&B bands and kind of that kind of thing. So we kind of had to have that kind of showmanship going on, that kind of production. So Shakespeare was our backup dancer. He and I were around the same height. He's a little older than me, but sort of the same build.
Right.
So when I left the crew, they were like, "Yo, well, let him be CliNTel for a while because we got these contracts. We're still under these agreements, and nobody really knows. So we're just gonna make him, we're gonna call him CliNTel." And he still feels bad to this. Man, I'm so sorry, man, that I used your name. I'm saying, look, man, no hard feelings, no grudges or anything like that. It's all good.
Okay.
But
when Lonzo was here, I'll be honest with you, because he said in an interview one time that he was back there playing the keyboard, and then I said, let's be honest, Lonzo, you said you didn't know how to play nothing.
No.
He goes, I don't give a damn. He goes, I'm gonna be in the video, so I'm gonna play. And I said, you look dope. Because I wasn't even playing anything.
No, he wasn't. So look, man, it's funny because Lonzo's a little older than us, and his initial role was as the manager and sort of like finding the gigs, sort of managing the money, managing the shows and that kind of thing. But when we started to blow up and get a lot of attention, mainly from women, he's like, oh, no, I got to get in the group. So he put himself in the group because initially it was a rapper and two DJs. It was me and then Dre and Yella. And then occasionally Dre would come in and say, well, I had to actually force Dre to, really start rapping because he was really reserved, a shy dude. And I believe one day, because we had just made surgery, and it was blowing up and girls were screaming for the song. So I turned to him and said, man, say something, and he's behind the turntables and he goes, hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Dr. Dre. And the girls start screaming. And he looked up like, holy shit, what is this? And so from that point on, couldn't shut him up. Couldn't shut him up. It was done. It was done. It was over. It was over. So
that's dope. Now, I'm going to share something about Joe, what he said at one time about Dr. Dre. And it was me and my brother in the car one time. And then I'm going to ask you a question about a World Class Wreckin Cru single. Okay. One time, my brother had picked up Joe when obviously he was staying in Compton at the time, but it was off of Mayo Street, Mayo.
Yeah, I know what that's at.
We picked him up. We took him to Grand Central Station and the club in Long Beach, and we were taking him home. Now, during that time, in the 80s, Dre was also known as a dope DJ.
Yeah.
Okay. So one time my brother asked him, hey, man, can you get Dre? And here's what he said. He goes, Jay don't want to see me.
Well, listen, and again, knowing both of them, yeah, he's right. He's right. I mean, listen, Dre had his strengths. He was very good. He had a really good ear for music and a really good ability to blend sounds together that you would think would never match.
Right.
I mean, he had this one mix that was so cool. We called it the Postman mix.
Yeah.
He would take that jive track, Jive 122 or something like that.
122 jive rhythm track.
Yeah, and then he would take that with the Postman song and blend them together so cool. So it was like this old school song mixed in at that time with this, current hit.
Right.
And it sounded so good, and people would just get on the dance floor almost like it was just a brand new song.
Right.
So Dre had that really good ability and real good ear for blending music together. Very good ear for music, solid.
As a matter of fact, that mix is on 86 in the mix.
Oh, dope.
86 in the mix. So if you drop 25 on the super chat, that's what you'll get.
That's what's up. And then Joe, again, his strengths were his ability to cut and scratch with such precision and speed that it was mind-blowing. You know, it was just, he was like you called him, you know, the Michael Jordan or the Jimi Hendrix of scratch, man. And Joe was that type of dude. So they had their own strengths, I guess, in different ways. And me being a brother to both, I would say that, you know, I'd take either one of them any day, and you know, have them behind me, you know, rocking the crowd.
On that song, Juice, Give Me Some Juice. Okay, that was a DJ favorite, especially because the 12-inch on the other side had a cappella. Cli-N-Tel. Lonzo.
I'm Cli-N-Tel. Get the fuck out. Motherfucker, say what? All that.
Boom, boom, boom.
Oh,
my God.
And they used that in the NWA Boys in the Hood song as well. They cut that in there too. So
all that was you?
Yeah, that's all me.
So even that laugh,
that's Lonzo.
Really?
Yeah, that's Lonzo. Lonzo did the laugh, but all the other stuff, the boom, 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 y'all, that stuff is me.
Because I remember we used to like bomb, like we
and we did it for that reason, because we said, look, we're DJs. We want DJs to be able to scratch something.
Yeah.
So let's do something on the back a cappella that DJs can scratch. And that's exactly why we did it, as DJs thinking about other DJs.
That shit was hard, bro. That shit was hard, man. You guys made my childhood, my upbringing dope, bro. So thank you.
I mean, we were we're hardcore hip hop heads, you know, and that's something that we've always stayed true to. You know, we love hip hop. And I think when people look at sort of the music, or they sort of look at the mystique of NWA or the mystique of Wreckin' Cru, what they sort of kind of get pushed to the back is that we were true hardcore hip hop heads. Yella learned from Davey DMX how to scratch, you know. I was influenced by Curtis Blow and Kool Moe Dee and all of those guys coming up, Melly Mel and, you know, Spoonie G and Houdini and all those cats. You know, Yella was a drummer, you know, that had that kind of influence. Like I said, and with Dre, he was just young, soaking it all up as it was going along. So he was just really soaking a lot up, quiet, but soaking it all up like a sponge. And then, you know, in the 90s, as you know, the story goes, late 80s, early 90s, it just blossomed. It was already there. It was just simmering under the, you know, the surface. And he was destined to be who he is. It was no question for me. And even when Cube came along, that's a whole nother story. And I don't know how much time we got for that.
Okay, we'll get to that. But what I want to touch on is the infamous world-class Wreckin' Cru album cover.
Yes.
Okay.
Purple suits.
Yes. Did anybody have anything against wearing that?
Absolutely not. Okay. Nobody did. And in fact, you know, Dre's mother designed those suits.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for that, bro. Because I didn't know. But I'll tell you what, you know, people try to say, well, look at the world-class Wreckin' Cru, look at the way they dress. Motherfucker, I thought that shit was fucking dope.
Listen, you can't take something 30 years later out of context and go, oh, look at that. That looks a little suspect. The reality is this. We were Prince, Michael Jackson fans. And we had to tour with R&B groups, you know, Timex Social Club. And the audience was that audience. So we had to cater to that audience. Otherwise, we looked like, stand out like sore thumbs, look odd, you know, oddballs out. No, we didn't wear lipstick. So let me get that clear. No, none of us wore lipstick. I believe Yella and Dre put a little, you know, eyeliner on, and maybe some not lip gloss, but you know, the stuff that keeps your lips from you getting all
chapstick.
Chapstick. And that's pretty much what it was. There was some purple lighting, smoke going up, so it looks all purpley. But again, we were Prince fans, and I have no regrets for that.
So now, where was that picture taken? That actual studio?
It was taken, I believe, at Macola Records, second floor. Yeah.
Wow. And when you saw it, when you saw the picture, the final picture, were you like, that shit is dope?
Yeah, because we picked it from like several pictures, you know, that we had, and because if you notice, there's also a promo picture, a black and white promo, and then there's another picture that's slightly different. But we all sat down together, the four of us, and said, yeah, that one, like that.
When that picture was taken, how old were you?
About 17.
See, I would have never have thought that, man.
Yeah, and I said I'm gonna unbutton one shirt to look sexy on it. So yeah, that's what. But again, and we weren't really trying to make that look for dudes.
Of course,
we were making that for the girls. Straight up.
I'll say this as a DJ, because we knew who Dr. Dre was, but when we saw Dr. Dre and that doctor uniform or outfit, I'm not gonna lie to you, I thought that shit was hard.
Well, look, it was a whole thing because we started to understand marketing, and we started to understand that you had to have a hook. Not just a hook in your songs, but a visual hook.
Yeah.
We were getting more and more savvy about the industry and really how to sell. And there was no one else giving us this advice. No one was telling us what to do. We were creating these things on our own as we figured it out. I like to tell people, particularly like when I talk to newer MCs or newer artists or anybody that wants to get into entertainment and want to understand better, you have to have something called metacognitive thinking. And metacognitive thinking is that ability to step outside of yourself and be able to judge the situation or judge yourself as if you are an objective observer. So we were starting to really develop that more. And as your ear gets better and your understanding of the industry gets better, you figure things out. So to this day, we're named as one of the top 25 well-dressed hip-hop groups in history. So, go figure. We did something right.
That shit is hard, man. I liked it. So, I know Surgery came out, Juice came out. I called it Give Me Some Juice. Yeah. And even in there at the very end, you guys mentioned all these high schools. And Banning High School was mentioned. I remember I was like, yes.
Because Banning gave us love, man. Banning gave us love. Of course, Locke, Fremont, some of those places where some of us actually attended, and places that gave us love, man. So that's why we did that. We wanted to show that back, for sure.
Was there a third single off of that, or was it Turn Off the Lights? If I'm correct.
Lovers.
That's right.
You had World Class, Lovers. You had Surgery, Horny Computer. All those,
Right.
Dre's Beat.
Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and press pause right there. We're gonna come back. I want you to share a little bit about Ice Cube.
Yeah.
And then your departure from the group, and we'll get into your book.
Cool.
So once again, everybody, if you drop 25 on the super chat, you'll get all these 4 CDs. They go $10 a piece, but I'm getting rid of them for 25. I'll mail them out tomorrow. Once again. 86 in the Mix is that mix that he was talking about with Mr. Postman and Jive Rhythm Tracks. Somebody asked me, okay, how do I pay for it? You pay for it, then you email us at roadiumradio@gmail.com. You email us your name, your YouTube name, and your address, and we'll get it out to you. So once again, you email us at roadiumradio@gmail.com, and we'll mail them out to you. And for those of you that want to, if you will, request a guest or have any questions or comments or want to submit music or videos, at roadiumradio@gmail.com. That's where you send everything. Please do not send me stuff to my inbox. Do not send me stuff to my DM. So maybe you guys have done that. I'll just leave it on red. I will not even reply, because every week I say, please send it to roadiumradio@gmail.com, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So once again, call somebody, text somebody, slap the hell out of somebody, and let them know that CliNTel is in the building. World-class Wreckin Cru, baby. We'll be back in 10 minutes.
About this young kid from the Harbor area named Tony A, and he was a DJ, you know what I'm saying? He was going in with the big stars, you know what I'm saying? And he was like one of us going in and infiltrating
how
inside of all these MCs, you know what I'm saying?
A Roadium mixtape is just mixed of different types of music, no matter what genre it is. And like I said, it's like making your own musical movie.
When La Raza came out, man, even the amount of sales of the single of La Raza that got moved out of the Roadium was crazy, bro. And that song just got played and was played in all the stands over there. And I was blessed to go back one time even to see it, and I want to say in 91 or 92.
Although they were not black, they were Oriental, Asian, whatever you want to call them, they were cool. And they embraced everybody, blacks, Latinos, whoever came to the Swapmeet to want to buy music. They were record people.
Coast and all hip-hop fans. This is your girl, Violet Brown, and I'm here with Tony A. the Wizard. And if you're rolling with us right now, that means that you love West Coast hip-hop. And if you want to know the real deal from the real players, the real people behind the scenes, you better pick up Tony's new film, Roadium Mixtape DOCUMIXERY. You get it by going to DOCUMIXERY.com. You better get this, and I want to do a special shout out and a rest in peace to my man Steve YANO. I'm out.
Lonzo, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You sure?
Motherfucker, I'm ready, goddamn!
Like it ain't shit, cause I'm a player motherfucker named DJ Quick. It's a full-time jack move. Till he kill yo, homie, make the crack move. Freestyle, meanwhile, we keep the beat chicken. Sweat dripping, girlies in the middle when you chill. Walked in the house, got shot. 1, 2, 3. Motherfucker, don't down this shit. This is it, y'all. Daddy. Kick your ass.
Cut. We're good?
Y'all heard, take it from the top.
Get that shit, new chump. Put a power move on him.
If you mess with me,
Breakbeat Lou, take one.
Well, my name is Luis Flores, aka Breakbeat Lou. I'm the co-creator of the infamous Ultimate Breaks and Beats compilation, which was a tool that's used in the 80s and 90s as a tool for DJs and then a tool for producers, from everybody from Marley Marl, Premier, DJ Quick, Dr. Dre, Dilla, Kanye, everybody that you could think of that did hip hop in the 90s and has that boom bap sound most definitely got the kicks and snares from our compilation. And the best way that I can describe hip hop is the essence of the greediness of the hood. And I say we were instrumental for keeping hip hop because without our compilation, most of the canon breakbeats and the breakbeats that became the infamous with records when I've been able to be obtained unless we released the records we released. So, God bless Breakbeat Lenny that's no longer with us, and my man Kev Harris for doing the covers. But UBB is most definitely the Bible for 90s hip hop for sure.
When did you first hear of the Roadium or Steve?
Wow, has to be 2010, 2011. I made my first trip back to LA since the 90s, and I happened to meet some incredible brothers, the Beat Junkies, which technically, if you guys know that the name Beat Junkie was created by myself and Chet Nunez. Do you guys know that? If you look at behind the records, especially one of the later records, it'll say edited by Louis Flores for Beat Junkie Productions. So I'm in J-Rock's house, and we going through records and everything, and Rhett Maddox starts telling me the story. He goes, that I got your records from this place called the Roadium. And I'm like, I've never heard of it. He goes, yeah, the Roadium was like a staple for hip hop here in on the West Side. And he said, there's so many famous stories that came out of that particular thing. He said one of them is Dr. Dre. And I was like, what do you mean? Again, I'm not paying, my mindset was not even thinking about the way Straight Outta Compton was created and everything. He goes, yeah. If you listen to all the stuff, 90% of the NWA first album is Ultimate Breaks and Beats. And he goes, and if it wasn't for the Roadium, they would have never had these records. And he said there's a story being told that, with the way Easy and Dre met was at the Roadium. So that, for the last 7-8 years, that's what I've been hearing. The Roadium's been that staple of, or the connection between Ultimate Breaks and Beats and West Coast hip hop. And then I got to meet High C and DJ Quick last year, with my man Bias, and they told me the same story. I mean, Quick came out to me with a box full of SP1200 floppies, and he goes, all of this here was done using your records, which I bought at the Roadium. So again, this constant plays and Steve's name was always constantly popping up, and I'm like, this is something incredible. Excuse me. And then when I saw that you were doing the thing and you feature on one of your promos mine and Lenny's work, I was like, wow. So then I had to be a part of this because again, it's just a historical aspect of this incredible culture that again started as a little thing in New York and has become a worldwide phenomenon.
Yo, everybody, what's up? Welcome back to Roadium Radio, episode 27 with Cli-N-Tel. I hope you guys call somebody, page somebody, slap somebody. As a matter of fact, breaks a bottle over somebody's head and let them know that Cli-N-Tel is in the building, and we're going to jump right back into it. Yes, so, once again, you were sharing with us that your story about Cube.
Yeah.
Ice Cube.
So, Jinx is Dre's cousin, right?
Yes.
And back then, man, about the equipment you got to move, the big speakers and the turntables and the compressors and the crossovers and all this kind of stuff that you had to move back and forth because we were mobile DJs and we would do remotes and we would do our own concerts where we would supply our own equipment. And we would go from the club, Eve After Dark, over to Doodle's Music Center or Skateland USA, and we'd bring all our stuff in. So we needed a lot of people. We needed a lot of hands for that kind of stuff, right? So, cats like Jinx, who we knew from, being part of the family and that kind of thing, would help us out.
Yeah.
And Jinx would always tell us, really bug us. Hey, man, I got this group, and, we got rappers and turntables and everything. Y'all got to come check us out. Me and Dre, he's always telling me and Dre that. And we like, nah, we don't have time for that kind of stuff, man. Just stay in school, do your homework, stuff like that. So finally one day, I think it was maybe Ice Cube's birthday or something. Jinx, you gotta come, man. We having a party, come on over. So we went over to the house over there on Van Wyck. And they had a little setup back there, turntables and all that kind of stuff. So we didn't realize that we were going over there to see a concert.
Wow.
But they set us up. So me and Dre, we walk into the back, and they had a little backyard boogie setup going on. And Jinx, knowing that, okay, this might be our only shot, he hurried up and jumped on the turntables. And this dude with this jerry curl jumped on the mic. And this other dude, a little skinny dude, he was on another mic. So they started rapping and doing their thing. And Jinx is, and I'm like, wow, they kind of look like the Wreckin' Cru a little bit. They kind of been studying us. But then when Cube started rapping, I said, wow, this dude sounds a lot like me. He's got some fire. And even though he sounded like me, but his delivery was so dope. And it was raw, but I knew he had talent. I said, nah, this cat's got some talent. It's raw, but we need to work with him. So I pulled Dre to the side and said, hey man, let's just work with the little kids, man. Come on, man, let's do something with them. Let's bring them in the studio, let them see what's going on so they can just learn a little more. Dre, nah man, forget that. I don't want to work with that. I don't want to fool with that. We ain't got time for that. So I finally convinced Dre to let him come through, and they came on over. And they came to the little 4-track studio. We call it the hot box because Lonzo had converted his garage into an office and a 4-track studio, but there was no AC, there was no ventilation, there was none of that shit. So we back there sweating all the time working. And so they came back there, and they jumped on the mic, and I was coaching them on how to rap on the microphone and do all this kind of stuff. And Cube was really inquisitive all the time. And there's a book coming out where he was interviewed, and he talks about that time, and he talks about me. And I'm just paraphrasing this because I don't want to give up, what the author has written. But in a nutshell, what Cube said was that CliNTel was one of those guys that I looked up to, and he was a professional, and he was the kind of person that I wanted to pattern myself after as a professional. So I appreciated him even acknowledging that and saying that. But yeah, he was really, really inquisitive. He had just a curious nature and a curious mind, and had just a deeper, soulful attraction and love for hip hop. And those are the kind of people I tended to gravitate towards. Right. So he kind of like became, I was his mentor, and he was like a little brother. Right. And I wanted to make sure that, they did well and they were successful. So we helped them out with that.
If I'm correct, because I believe you may know, on that song, Dope Man, an NWA, I know we're jumping a little bit ahead. Right. But Dre threw something in there in the very beginning. Yo, Dre, kick in the bass. Yeah. If I'm correct, that is Ice Cube.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember what song that was? Because I know it was under CIA.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know that was actually Ice Cube.
Yeah, it's Ice Cube. Well, we did, just to backtrack a little more, we did actually all of us do a song together called Bust It Up.
Okay.
And Barry Shakespeare has a copy of that song. I got to give him to send me another copy of it. But we all, me, Dre, Cube, Shakespeare, KD, and Jinx, we all got in the studio one day, just messing around. And we came up with a tune called Bust It Up.
Okay.
So if anybody if you can search it, find it. But it's a tune that Wreckin' Cru and CIA did together. But backtracking what you're saying about CIA, I'm not sure what song that is, but that's definitely something that Cube would definitely be credited for.
Now, what caused or what made you finally depart the World Class Wreckin' Cru?
Well, it's not one answer. It's not a black or white situation. But I will say this, in a nutshell, as we started to gain more notoriety and blow up and get recognition, not just in our local community and in California, but all over, the United States internationally, there were so many people coming at us at that time. And we started to sort of develop our own individual little camps, right? And cliques and people who wanted to latch on. That plus there were some managers that were coming around, sniffing around, sharks trying to figure out how to, worm their way into the situation. Right. Because then it wasn't about the music anymore. It wasn't about the creative side of it. It was about the money and how can we make this group or this product now into a bigger commodity. So it became more about that. For me, I was always about the art and the creative side of it, and not, relinquishing my soul as an artist, because again, I had my boots on the ground. I wanted to be recognized not as, you know, some foofy, you know, artist up there. I wanted to be recognized as a real hip hop head. So, but everybody didn't see it that way. Plus, there were money situations going on that I was privileged to, because I was studying the business side of it, that Dre and Yella just pretty much didn't care about. So, and Lonzo had gotten into the weeds on a lot of that kind of stuff, and got in over his head. And as we started to sell more records, we weren't making more money. So I started questioning that and trying to get to the bottom of it and figure out how we can resolve it, right? So that was never resolved. Plus, like I said, we had these different factions, you know, pulling at us from all four sides. I was in school, so I had another sort of side of things going on. At that time, I was, going to the university, Cal State Fullerton. So I kind of had other trajectories that I was on as well. And on top of that, as you start to get more notoriety, it played into the ego factor. So everybody started to get egos. And I'm not saying that I'm, immune to that, but I probably had less of an ego.
Okay.
So I'm looking at it from that perspective too. And I decided, me, Dre, and Yella decided first to leave, because we had talked about it, and we did leave. And we all left together. We were going to form our own group together. So we were gone for about a week. A tour came up that we were supposed to go on. The tour bus was delivered. It was sitting out there for about a week. Lonzo freaking out, calling us, trying to get in contact with us, and he couldn't. So Russ Parr was having a party that weekend, and him and Lonzo devised a plan to try and get us all at this party together. So Dre and Yella ended up going to the party, and when they showed up, Russ Parr called Lonzo and said, "Lonzo, they're here." Lonzo showed up and convinced him to come back. I wasn't having it, because there were contractual issues as well.
Okay.
Because at that time we weren't under contract, but the contract that was handed to us was not. I felt was not fair.
Okay.
Because initially we were supposed to split everything 4 ways, 25% apiece. But then again, Lonzo became very savvy, because he was talking to other people in business, and decided that he was going to keep 55% of everything and only have us split 45% of amongst the three of us. So I'm like, we're doing a lot of the work. Yes, Lonzo did do a lot of the management side and the equipment and stuff like that, but I felt that what he contributed and what we contributed was equal. And so there was a dispute there as well. Since been resolved, we're good, and Lonzo and I are the best of friends. We cool now. But back then, again, with all of that stuff going on, it wasn't just one particular thing. It was a combination of things, sort of a comedy of errors and situations going on that made me decide to move on.
Okay, because I guess after that is when I met you at the nightclub, Grand Central Station. And I know you were there emceeing when Joe was cutting.
Yeah.
And then there was another individual that Joe started bringing around. Artist.
Yeah, amazing artist.
And then I remember you guys, I was so excited because you had told me, me, Joe, and Artist are going to cut a record. And the song was called, if I'm correct, Joe and Artist.
Well, it's called It Ain't Mine.
It Ain't Mine, that's right.
Yeah, it was a sort of a hip-hop spin on the whole Billie Jean thing. About a girl trying to tag me for being, saying she was the mother of my kid. It didn't happen for real. I'm an MC. I'm a storyteller, so I can tell stories. It's not a true story. It's not based on a true story, but it was an interpolation of Billie Jean, and I had Joe and Artist cutting on it. They did some dope scratching on it.
Yeah, because I remember, I remember. If I'm correct, I was always calling your house. I had your number, and I don't know who I was talking to. And like, hey, when's that record coming out? And I think it came out under that label, Prism?
Sutra. Sutra Records. Yeah,
because it was like a rainbow looking.
Yeah, that's Sutra Records. I had a deal with Sutra. After I left the crew, I did some stuff with Unknown first. We did 2030, and the organization that was with Tony G and Lirad, Dub C. I put Dub C on his first record.
Wow.
And then Dub C appeared also on Jazzy D's record, that's what I did. So that was Dub C's first 2 records he had ever done.
Wow.
And then I did 2030 with Techno Hop, and at the same time I was doing that with Unknown.
Right.
Dre was doing Sweat by The Mechanic with the same label. So Dre and I were actually on, after Dre and him left the crew, Dre and I were actually on Techno Hop at the same time, and we both released sort of electro kind of funk records that same year. But Dre went under, he decided to go under a pseudonym, The Mechanic, and was a dope record. The Sweat's a dope record. 2030, they're kind of like in that same vein.
Right.
But anyway, progressing forward to Sutra, I got that deal through a frat brother of mine, Doug Young. Doug Young became a promoter for NWA and Death Row and all that kind of stuff. But Doug was hanging out with a cat named Giorgio, and Giorgio was Prince's sort of protege.
Yeah.
So when Doug was hanging out with Giorgio doing records, Doug said, "Hey man, I got this dude I want you to meet." So I go to the studio one day, and it's Giorgio there. I was looking at just like Prince and all that kind of stuff. Man, is that Prince or is that his little brother? So struck up a conversation with Giorgio, and Giorgio was working with a guy named Artie Rip, and Artie Rip was a former manager of Billy Joel. So anyway, long story short of that, Artie and I struck up a conversation. Artie said, "Hey man, you're a talented guy. Do you want to do something, with another label?" I said, "What label?" He said, "Sutra Records." I said, "Oh yeah, Sutra out of New York." He said, "Yeah, that's my label, but I had to break up the names because people were tripping on me and stuff." And I think Artie also was drawn towards me because of my last name, Hawkins, because he had worked with the Hawkins family with the "Oh Happy Day" song and all that. So I'm related to them. So anyway, struck up a deal with Artie, and I started working on, first I did a couple of singles with him, and that's one of the ones that I brought Joe on with artists. And then we did It's Time to Jam and Linguistic. And then I started working on an actual, studio album with Sutra. Then Sutra went belly up. But that's what happened, man. That's, the Sutra story was there, the Sutra Records.
I remember, because I had both 12 inches when they came out. I remember I hit up Steve YANO, our mutual friend, may he rest in peace.
Yeah, man.
He finally, I go, "Dude, I've been looking for these records," and he brought me 2 of them. And I remember in the song, you were like, "Joe, we know this," and they would start cutting it up. That was a dope record. So now, 3 things that I want to talk about. We could talk about them however you want to. Sure. We could talk about your book. We could talk about the Universal Hip Hop Museum, or we could talk about the classes you're teaching at Northridge. However you want. All right,
let's start with the classes first, then the museum, then the book. So in the reverse order where you mentioned them. So the class I'm teaching is called The Politics of Hip Hop.
Okay.
And it's at Cal State Northridge, also with Dr. Cedric Hackett. Who's part of the Africana Studies Department, which is the bigger school, is Social and Behavioral Sciences. I mean, I have, again, like I said, when I stayed in school, I really mean I stayed in school. Right. I actually have a master's degree in education. I hold a California teaching credential, and also a BA in African Studies. So, in addition to doing the music, I always kept one foot in, the educational side. And I'm glad I did it, not because, I wanted to prove to people that rappers can be articulate too, or that MCs and DJs and stuff like that and people in hip hop can be articulate, nor am I an elitist by any stretch of the imagination, because I came from humble beginnings. Trust me, there were times when, we barely had anything to eat, or if we had anything to eat at all growing up. There were times when we were, that close to being homeless. So I come from a humble beginning, so I never forget where I came from. But I always knew that striving forward and doing something that's positive and trying to leave the world better than when you came into it was a good thing to do as well. And that's what I always believe and I carry with me. Yeah. So I always kept a foot in education, not to be an elitist, but to know that there's always something better. Because it's one thing to tell people to do stuff, but if you're leading by example, it takes on a whole different meaning. So if I'm telling kids, stay in school, get your education, do this and do that, and what about you? Well, I did, and I may even one day, who knows, people have been, man, you need to go on and pursue your PhD, to get a doctorate and all that kind of stuff. So Who knows? Maybe, maybe I'll be, the rapping professor, who knows? Right. But so anyway, long story short, man, the class is a really cool opportunity, I think, for the students to get an understanding of the true nature of hip hop. Okay. What we had, growing up, not the rap business today, but hip hop culture as it was rooted in, the oppressive conditions of, Black and Latino youth, and as it was rooted in a need to make something out of nothing, and as it was, rooted in this whole creative style that created a lifestyle that created brands, and now it's a $1 trillion industry now. So that's kind of like where we're going with all of it, and it's interdisciplinary. So we're using hip hop, but also branding. We're also using technology, Afrofuturism, all that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
To really, they I already told them, they just have no clue what they're in store for, man. It's gonna be made. We're gonna build some disciples in there for sure.
Awesome,
for hip hop.
awesome. Disciples, that's a good one. That's a real good thing to disciple these students. Another thing, that the Universal Hip Hop Museum, how did that come about? How did you get involved? And where is it going to be at?
So I got involved about 6 or 7 years ago, but a year or two before that, a group of heads, hip hop heads, OGs sat down, quadruple OGs sat down and said, what are we going to do to secure our legacy? We see Rock and Roll Hall of Fame over here. We see the Blues Hall of Fame. We see Elvis Presley's Graceland. We see, all these different things happening. Grammy Museum. Cornell University is scooping up all kind of, hip hop artifacts and, memorabilia. Harvard University is now getting into it. USC is getting into it. What are we going to do to make sure that we control the narrative and secure our own legacy for future generations, right? Is it about, taking old records and, books and artifacts and blowing the dust off and sticking them somewhere and going, wow, look what I did back in the day? Or is it truly about, the business of hip hop, the culture of hip hop, the essence of hip hop? So when I came along, I started just kind of advocating for reaching the youth and pulling in innovative ways to do that, right? Because it wasn't just about how we tell people about what happened back in the day, but we want to literally illustrate it to them, show them, and capture some of that essence, right? So then we started really just kind of pounding the pavement, trying to figure out what to do through different ideas and iterations. It was just like, what do we do? How do we move this thing forward? We know we want a place to put stuff in it, but what kind of stuff do we put in it? How do we build out this idea? So we went through a series of spots that fell through, and finally hooked up with a developer that was and architects that were the same people that did the African History Museum in DC, Ralph Applebaum and Associates. And we brought along Mike Ford, who is the hip hop architect, and Rocky Bucano, and Joe Conzo, and initially Curtis Blow and Ice-T and all those guys were involved. So in Bambaataa. So when we decided to really push the thing forward, we really started getting our stuff together, putting together really nice decks, professional level stuff, bringing in volunteers. Everybody's volunteers, like 41 people now working on this thing. Everybody's volunteers. We had $0. Even when I came along, it was still $0. Now we've been able to raise about 30 million. But we still got a long ways to go, because it takes a lot to do a museum, to create an institution. But we've gotten so much traction now, just from word of mouth, just from pounding, hip hop, how we do it. Hey, did you know there's a museum? When I first started and came along, I was getting cussed out. People were on the West Coast, man, what the hell you doing with those New York dudes? You don't know them. You don't know what they all about. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I was getting all of that. Wow. But I didn't care, because I knew that it was the single most important project for hip hop. And I knew, and I was willing to recognize and acknowledge that hip hop as we know it, where the 5 elements all came together, started in the Bronx. 1520 Sedgwick, Kool Herc doing his thing at his sister's birthday party, 1973. That's when it started. So I'm willing to acknowledge that, but we have to be able to acknowledge that so we can solidify this thing and make sure we solidify the legacy. So out of that whole kind of construct, we started building on that and saying, now, how do we make it innovative? How do we make it cool? Because that's the first thing I said to him. I said, look, I'm not getting involved with this if y'all don't make it look cool. So we started thinking about innovative ways to do it. So we brought in, Microsoft and Tinkercad and Google and all these different companies. We held a series of ciphers, around the country, where we brought in everybody from all walks of life, the artists, the man on the streets, you know, kids and adults alike, people who love museums, people who didn't know the first thing about them. And we really did these all-day sessions with them to say, what would you like to see in a hip-hop museum? And we got some really good feedback in LA, Detroit, Atlanta, New York, and all these different places. And we consolidated all that information, and out of that we designed something where we think is innovative, forward thinking, that relates to all levels, and you know, and is really a device to move hip hop forward. We also have created something called Hip Optimus Prime, which is a traveling version of the museum.
Wow.
It's a, you know, a tricked out 18-wheeler that, you know, pulls up to a school or a concert, boom, 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 does this thing. You can walk through it and see a piece of the museum. We're going to have satellite campuses on the West Coast and Houston and all these different places, because some of the OGs have told me, yo, man, I don't know, I want my stuff 3,000 miles away in New York. I don't know, you know, that's cool. So we'll have a satellite campus here, and I'm actually working with like USC and Northridge and some other places to put those kinds of traveling exhibits up. And what else? So we also launched the Revolution of Hip Hop, which is a smaller, you know, dressed down version of the museum right across the street from where the museum is actually going to be built. And that's going to be up for 3 years until the museum is going to be up in 2023. But yeah, it's so innovative stuff, man. And all kind of things that and since we've opened just the Revolution of Hip Hop, which is a small taste, tickets have been selling out like crazy.
Awesome. Okay. Where Kool Herc had his party, 1973. If I'm correct, I think it was August 11.
August 11. Yeah, 1973.
I've been there. I had to go there because that, to me, that's like, if you will, the Garden of Eden
of
hip hop, where everything flowed from there.
Yep.
So I know I had to make my pilgrimage, if you will.
And it's the apartment's still there. I mean, it's still there.
Now here's my other thing. When can we? I have two questions. When can we expect, possibly, if you can give us a rough estimate, grand opening, and do they have the location of? Okay.
So the groundbreaking is going to be this year, I believe, in March.
Okay.
So they'll be cutting the ribbon. They've already started leveling the ground and all that, but yeah, they have it. They have the location. It's a spot called the Bronx River. It's a brand new sort of development, cultural, community, business hub. It's about a mile away from Yankee Stadium. So it's in a really prime spot, but it'll be a cultural draw for a lot of people. When we're already partnered with other museums like the Smithsonian and the Getty and all those places and stuff like that, and they've been really helping us now, guiding us along. But we had to really make people believe that we were serious, and I think through the consistency, that's how people started to go, okay, these guys are serious, and it's for us, by us. It's not, foofy people trying to tell us what to do. And one of the things we told Microsoft, Google, YouTube, all these other, corporate folks is, look, we control this. And if you have a problem with that, you can kick rocks. Period. Plain and simple. We don't need your money. We don't need your prestige. We don't need you if you're going to try and control this narrative forth. And they like, yo, we understand. We get it. It's hip hop. We love it. We respect it. We respect what you guys have done over these years. We cool with that.
Right.
So that's where it's at. So
I'm a museum guy, and that's why I get excited.
Yeah.
Okay. I love museums. My other question to you is this, and this is coming, I believe, from the fans, that because I believe I pretty much already know the answer, but just to ask for the people can get an idea, since it is in New York, is it just going to have New York artists memorabilia, or will it include also the West?
Absolutely not. And if anybody knows me, knows my situation, listen, if you put me in a room with a bear, then and it's just me and that bear's got problems. Because no, I'm an advocate for the West Coast. I'm California love all the way through and through. I'm West Coast, born and raised, and in fact they respect that. They respect where I'm coming from and my perspective. So I'm making sure that and if you see the plans for the museum, the first thing you see as soon as you walk up is one of these.
Awesome.
Would represent the West Coast, just like that. So and I'm pointing to this little Lolo, this little Lolo right here that he got. So that's the first thing you see, because they know and they understand the influence and the contribution of the West. So yeah, absolutely, man. They're actually going to have. We've been talking about doing a whole Ruthless Records Hall in there. So yeah, we good.
Amazing.
We covered.
Since you brought up Ruthless Records, I've always said this. and I want to stand behind it, even though my name may never ever be mentioned. I don't care. I hope that one day Steve's cassettes that featured Dre, Easy, Cube would one day be included in that museum.
You don't have to hope. That's a done deal.
Awesome.
That's a done deal.
Amazing. We just have to get a hold of Susan and get some real copies.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm advocating for that, and anybody that wants to know more information about it, they can go to uhhm.org, or they can contact me at any of my social media. You know, I guess we'll give those out, you know, at the end. But yeah, just know this, that the West Coast is well protected, and we got a team of people that are solid from the West. You know, Class 1 is on our team, Greg Mack. We have Silky D. Yeah, man. So we got some really solid people that are down for the West, man, that's doing this thing.
Now, let's get to your book.
Yes.
I know it's out already.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it, and then where can people buy it?
So DJ Cli-N-Tel, the autobiography, essays, and writings of a modern day Renaissance man. You can buy it at Amazon.com or at my website, CLI-N-TEL.com. Either way, you can go pick it up from there. It's really a book where I wanted to set the historical record straight, because, you know, there are a lot of stories out there, and a lot of people misrepresent sort of the narrative of where I come from, but also just West Coast in general, and some of the hip hop and some of the stories I shared here today. But I wanted to make sure that the stories didn't get marginalized, because there are people who played a significant role in this culture that don't get the respect or the recognition that they deserve, like the Tony G's and people like that. So I just wanted to make sure that it was on record. You know, some of these stories that are out there that people have kind of been dancing around and sort of tiptoeing around, but I just, you know, solidly, explicitly put them in there so people could go, yo, on this page, this is what Cli-N-Tel said. But that's really what I wanted to do with it. Okay. And I also wanted to just kind of let people know that you don't have to be a one-trick pony, you know, and I'm trying to inspire people to explore many different areas, because I believe that all of us have gifts. There's something that we can contribute to this world, whether it's creative, whether it's analytical, whether it's whatever it is. Some people are nurturing and caring. Some people are thinkers, and some people are doers. Some people have athletic ability. We all have gifts, and it's important to try and find those and enhance and be the best you. And part of being a Renaissance man or woman is really working to look at, you know, your life in a 360 perspective, and look at all the things that you can do and try to be the best you. So that's, you know, that's where it's at, man.
Awesome. Well, I encourage everybody that subscribe, or even some of those that haven't subscribed yet, to pick up this book. You know, go to Amazon or go to his website and pick it up. I'm the type of person that I like to read. I really like to read, especially I like to say in my old age. I'm a reader,
and it's an easy read too. It's almost like you're having a conversation with me, you know, because you know I'm really trying to, you know, let it out there, you know, and let people have it. And there are some things that you'll go, whoa, I didn't know that. Oh, really? You know, and again, it's really an easy read, man.
Awesome. I have one more thing that I want to ask you. Okay.
Sure.
Me, John Elkins, I directed it. John Elkins filmed it, and my boy Daniel Jones, DG, filmed it. It took us about a year to film, about a year to edit. And my question to you is, do you believe it was important to be able to document what Steve contributed to West Coast hip hop?
You know, that's a no-brainer, man. Absolutely, because Steve played such a significant role in West Coast hip hop. Who'da thunk, right?
Right.
You know, Asian dude who's, like you said, from Whittier, had no real inclinations about hip hop, but was drawn to it and fell in love with the. I think it was more about him appreciating us too, because Steve was a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And Steve was always supportive of everything we did, and we needed people like him to believe in us, because when other people weren't believing in us, it was the Steve Yanos and the Violet Browns and folks, Jerry Hellers even, that could get into places that we couldn't get into, or they were accepted in areas that we weren't, and they were advocating for us to go, hey, these young kids over here got something. You got to listen to them. You have to pay attention. And Steve was that person, and he gave us that shot, and he gave us a chance from that other side. He was a businessman, but he was also an advocate for this hip hop and for us. And yeah, we owe a lot of debt of gratitude to Steve. So absolutely, man, it's important to tell his story for sure.
Once again, you can get it unlimited streaming at DOCUMIXERY.com. The Roadium mixtape DOCUMIXERY, based on a Swapmeet Japanese vendor from the city of Whittier. One last thing, if there's any shout outs, anything you want to say, where they can reach you at. I think we got your Instagram up on the screen.
Cool.
But if there's anything that you want to share, say, give a shout out, pronounce your time.
You know what? I always say this, man. You know, shout out to, Dr. Dre and Ice Cube and DJ Yella and Grandmaster Lonzo, Shakespeare and the whole, crew from Wreckin Cru, because Wreckin Cru wasn't just the 4 guys that you see on the album covers. The Wreckin Cru was a team of folks that were behind us, the 30 plus, people who helped carry equipment, who worked at the club, who did security, who did all kinds of different things that, that don't go down in the record books, for us. So shout out to everybody and all the folks that came up with us and supported us over the years. And if you go through our family tree, it runs all the way from Dre to Eminem and Kendrick Lamar and DJ Quick, all those cats, all these cats that fall under that, that umbrella. And we just try to make sure that we represent, and we here to make sure that, that people see the love that we have for this art form that really gave us an identity and gave us a purpose. So, yeah, shout out to those guys, man.
Awesome. That's great. Okay, well, let me go ahead and give a shout out once again. First and foremost, let me go ahead and thank Cli-N-Tel for coming here. To me, he's a legend. I'm thankful to have him here, for me to have an opportunity to, let me say this. I was a young teenager watching you MC. Years later, I'm 51 years old and I'm interviewing you. To me, this is the dream come true, brother. So, once again, let me go ahead and thank John motherfucking Elkins for making all this possible. My boy Daniel Jones, DJ. You can reach him at DJ Media Clips. Thank my son Brian B. Scanlon for helping me promote this, and everybody else out there who I forgot to mention. I'll get you guys Sunday. But once again, the Roadium mixtape DOCUMIXERY, you will not be disappointed. Tomorrow, these go out to those who purchased it on the super chat. We are on all platforms now. Of course, YouTube, but on all platforms you can find us. As a matter of fact, if you find one that we're not on, please email us and let us know. If you have any suggestions, comments, complaints, music, videos, at roadiumradio@gmail.com. That's where you send it all. I know a lot of you guys send a lot of requests. Get this guy. Believe me, it's all in the works. But also keep in mind, some of us have told us no, they're not interested in the interview. That's fine. I move on to the next person. So once again, Roadium Radio will be back Sunday with another special guest. You'll see that on my Facebook, and you'll see that on my Instagram and on YouTube as well. And I'll give you another hint of who it's going to be. This man wrote another book, and he talks about gangster rap. So once again, stay tuned. See you guys Sunday. God bless. Have a blessed night.